All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Problem Solver Politics live stream. We're going to start the week off right. Welcome this Monday evening. I am your host, Cardinellis, with none other than Cody the Oracle.
Hey, everybody.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to say. Looking pretty tight. The giant, Cody the Giant, is squeezed into his little box. Anyway, the flavor of the week has recently been defunding the police. So that's been a little party that stopped really quickly. It's actually pretty interesting because I'm surprised at all that this even gained steam in the first place. But some of the responses from our leadership have actually been quite humorous, and there's a lot of crestfallen young progressives that actually thought it was a thing. So
Hold on.
It's unbecome a thing. I can't hear you.
Okay, that's fine. But, no, that's not, and I messed up the camera again. Can you adjust the camera? I can't adjust the camera when I'm not on it. That's
sure.
What I keep saying. Yeah. Thank you. Because I thought it looked good, and then I zoomed it in too far, and then I thought it looked okay, and then I zoomed it out too far. So I'll wait a second. But, okay, so just a little background. I was out of town for the weekend. I wasn't here during the weekend. And, we're doing great. So anyway.
You want it further in?
Over the weekend, we're doing great, man. That's great. Perfect. That was a great start. Anyway, a lot of news, like you said, about disbanding the police, disfunding the police. Let me tell you guys something. I was relying largely just on what news I was reading when I was out of town. I wasn't really doing as much stuff as I normally do because I was actually enjoying myself for once. It was weird. I read the news and enjoyed myself. I didn't read the news and enjoyed myself for a couple of days. It was weird. But anyways, I foolishly enough started to believe what I was reading in the media. I thought when I was reading these articles and I was reading these stories that they meant something. I want to show you guys one. I remember reading this one on when it was posted. I think I will say this. It was posted in the far distant past of yesterday. But I remember reading this article and being a sucker and believing it. And going, wow, Minneapolis to disband the police department? And I was reading the Minneapolis City Council on Sunday voted to disband its police department and invest in community-based public safety programs following calls from activists to defund the police. It's got the key facts here. They even say, I believe they say, what is it? An unvetoable. We have an unvetoable ability. It's the City Council President Lisa Benda, along with a majority of council members that cannot. City Council President Lisa Bender, along with the majority of city council members that cannot be vetoed by Mayor Jacob Frey, announced a plan to end our city's toxic relationship with the Minneapolis Police Department. We're here because we hear you. We are here today because George Floyd was killed by the Minneapolis police. They go through, they mention how the incremental reform efforts have failed. The police department has already lost much of its support from the community, and a lot of different things here. But again, and then they tell me this. They tell me the chief critic of this is Donald Trump. So I hear this and I go, okay, wow, I guess this is actually happening. I guess there's going to be cities that are going to try disbanding their police this way. I mean, I believe it was, here we go, what is it, The Guardian.
That's a bad move on Donald Trump's part,
all the way
man.
from across the pond saying that, wow, look at this historic move, right? So I decided to look more into this. Let me mention as well that city council members declare intent to abolish the embattled agency. I do want to just, for correction's sake, so I believe the Forbes article said they're going to do it. They mentioned that they have an intent to perhaps do this. So I decided, let's check out what are the local sources saying. What are they actually saying there? What's actually going on in Minneapolis? It's popular as what. So I went to what I normally like to go to, local affiliates, because they're pretty apolitical. I mean, this is just the local Channel 9 news. They don't work for either party. This is a quote from a local Minneapolis community activist. That was optics in reference to this big grandstanding thing when they said they were going to disband the police. Let me go through and to highlight a few things. I love the way Minneapolis Fox 9, which again, this is not Fox News Big Fox. It's local affiliate Fox. So just local news. So I want to read you guys the local news here. It's hilarious. It says the Minneapolis City Council's vow to defund the police department has its mix of support and backlash. Cool. And the majority vote doesn't necessarily mean it will happen. Listen to this. The council is sending a strong message, but they're facing obstacles, including some pushback from Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey. That's one. The council is also receiving opposition from the public and from community groups who point out the council can't just end a charter-mandated department. Opponents also say that focusing on one department is the wrong approach. They say it has to be massive reforms at all levels of law enforcement. Again, I mean, we're talking about Michelle Gross. She's the president of the Communities United Against Police Brutality. Clearly, in favor of the police. They laid the blame for the death of George Floyd squarely at the feet of the city council and the mayor, both the current and those in the past. Not like the city council to just save face by saying, oh, we're totally going to defund the police now. Had they done their jobs, Derek Chauvin would not have been around to kill George Floyd, she said. No, they didn't light the match, but they created the conditions that made people so angry, and they took to the streets and burned down this precinct. Grosz said when she heard council members on Sunday propose to end or defund the police, she saw it as unrealistic, impossible, and pandering. That was optics. It's not meant to be any kind of real change because they don't actually have the power to do it, she said. Again, I don't believe she's I don't know. I honestly didn't pull the codes up myself on what can or can't be done. But yes, they did note here that this is the relationship they have is not something city council can just necessarily sever. And then once again, they mentioned that pesky mayor that doesn't want his police disbanded. Minneapolis mayor set sight on police union in search of a culture shift. And they go on to mention here, this was published today, that Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey reaffirmed his opposition to abolishing the city's police department Monday, saying his idea of reform has more to do with changing the department's relationship with the police union. And unfortunately for him, he's actually onto something here. Because yes, adjusting the unions in general, especially police unions, would be a great way to be able to fire them. But yeah, I don't know. It's just funny, man. It's like I go out of town for a couple of days and I rely on what I read in the media. In like the major publications, stuff like Forbes and The Guardian, I rely on. They say, you know what? Hopefully hopefully they're not totally lying to me, and I can just read articles. And when it says that Minneapolis is to disband their police department, I can read that and understand that to mean that, and not find out that actually this has support from. I believe, as the local sources describe it, it's lacking support from the public, or it has opposition from the public, community groups, and the mayor. I don't know. It feels like if all three of those things are working against you, it probably won't happen, but I don't know. Maybe the city council in Minneapolis are essentially gods, and maybe they can, I don't know, conjure up something else instead. But yeah, it sounds like a lot of this hooey going around about how they're totally going to be doing this. It seems to be like most things pettering out. And then just one last thing I want to highlight just to get through the news that I'm trying to talk about is once again on Monday, apparently the Democrats advisors or their I'm blanking. That's strategists. The people who come up with their ideas.
Consultants.
Yes, thank you. Apparently Democrat consultants came out pretty clear. Enough of this stuff. Article from Politico, Hill Democrats squash the liberal push to defund the police. This is a quote, I love this. This is a quote from Karen Bass, who's actually the chairwoman of the Congressional Black Caucus. I think it can be used as a distraction, and that's my concern. She goes on to continue. I think the intent behind it is something I support, but the idea that the communities need investments, but not the idea, perhaps, of abolishing the police in and of itself. That was interesting. We're keeping our eyes on the prize, and that needs to be the story. State and locals will do what the state and locals need to do. Rep. Lisa Blunt from Rochester, a member of the Congressional Black Caucus, said Monday when asked about the defunding movement, "We are the Congress. What we're doing here today is our role." And again, some had a blunter assessment. This is from Democrat Joe Manchin, a moderate Democrat, so I guess, one of the less, but he is at the point of saying, you can't defund the police. That's stupid. It's crazy, and anyone who talks about it is nuts. That is a Democrat sitting in Congress. You have to have the police. In some ways, it's the story of Pelosi's second tenure as Speaker, forced to balance the demands of an aggressive left flank without alienating the moderate voters who delivered Democrat voters the House. Here's the thing. House Democrats don't care about the safety of anyone about the police. They just think it's a losing message in November, and that's basically what I wanted to get here. So that's the news of the day. Everything you heard of the weekend about all this stuff, all these journalists lying to you and stuff, turns out, hey, at least from the stories of Minneapolis, probably not going to be what happens in Minneapolis. Oh, yeah, by the way, I forgot one other person who probably isn't going to be down with this. Ooh. I used to love using the Hill, but ever since we added this, it's been a lot harder to use it. Democratic presidential contender Joe Biden's campaign said on Monday that the former vice president does not support calls to defund the police amid growing calls to do so by activists across the country. And I believe he does mention, here's the actual quote, as his criminal justice proposal made clear months ago, Vice President Biden does not believe that the police should be defunded. He's not even talking about abolishing, even the defunding he is against. So I just thought it was fun. Every now and then it's fun to pretend a news story going around is real and there's something going on. And whoa, there's going to be a city or two defunding their police with some support of, it appears, no, that's not going to happen anywhere with no one.
Well, this whole thing,
it was fun for a couple days.
The whole defund the police chant has always baffled me. There's been a lot of progressive slogans that I've actually either gotten behind myself or thought, I agree with the intent, just not with what you propose as the execution. So I'm half with you. All right. And I got to tell you, I don't get this one. And the reason why is because to me, it's at complete odds with everything at least I had always thought progressives stood for. I mean, if you defund the police, like just name another progressive value that they've been championing, and it completely goes away because you've effectively just said no longer enforce law.
Well, no, that's not what you say at all. This is what it means. You bring in private security, which, by the way, Chicago's doing anyway.
Well, but see
to augment. But then get this. Oh, fine. I will hold the private security contractor with no union, no benefits, accountable.
But that's what I'm saying. Is look at that. Just progressives are the biggest champions of labor unions out there. All right. And if you, this is literally a school voucher advocate's dream to say, hey, they just disbanded the unionized police force. We need to disband the corrupt, unionized, child-loving teachers unions. You know what I'm saying? It sets a massive precedent for just getting rid of one of the biggest voter strongholds, or I mean, it seems to go against so much of.
Well, here's the thing, though. Like my whole point was this, though. You're talking about people that no one's actually really pushing for. There's obviously literally people. What I'm saying is this isn't like some emerging political movement. Like,
yeah. Well, you always say progressives never get anything done.
Well, I wish I had this article pulled up. Politico was talking about. Oh wait, I actually do right here. Progressives steamrolled across the Senate map. Do you think Politico works for the DNC, just spiking the football for him right here? Check this out. If Democrats win back the Senate this fall, don't expect a rush to pass the Green New Deal or Medicare for all. Oh my God. The DNC operative who wrote that was probably just gleaming when they passed it on to these people to publish. The
Going back to
wiped out. Oh my God. Talk about spiking the football. Check out that first line. If Democrats win back the Senate this fall, don't expect a rush to pass the Green New Deal or Medicare for all. Basically just, you get nothing. Anyway, the left wing has been wiped out in Senate primaries or failed to recruit at all in states across the map this year, leaving a slate of centrist candidates more in the ideological mold of Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders. Oh my God, this is hilarious. I didn't read I skipped down to read some of the quotes. I normally skip the first few paragraphs. Liberal insurgents on the ballot over the coming weeks in states like Kentucky and Colorado aren't favored to fare any better, failing to gain significant traction thus this far against more moderate favorites. A Senate shutout would be an embarrassment for their progressive movement. They love writing this. With a few months ago looked ascendant. If Joe Biden was the presidency and Democrats take back the Senate, it would likely result in a more incremental approach to legislating, despite Biden's public overtures to the left since he clinched the Democratic nomination.
Wow.
Isn't that funny?
I mean, that's incredible. I'm gonna address some questions here in the chat because this whole thing just frustrates me. Bo Watson says maybe they realized defunding the police would turn America red. That's another thing. If you're a progressive and you're about gun control, defunding the police would literally equate to the most massive arms purchase that North America has ever seen. I mean, I remember when I went, the whole reason why I'm even a gun owner nowadays is because there were multiple times during multiple incidences where Barack Obama was talking about these drastic draconian gun control measures that need to be implemented. I thought, dude, I'm going to go buy a gun before he outlaws or restricts my ability to do so. So I bought my first, to this day, I probably would never own a gun and wouldn't be a gun enthusiast had Barack Obama not scared me into purchasing my first one in college. Okay. And I remember I went to the gun store and there was a picture of Barack Obama in golden outlined picture framing, and it said Salesman of the Year. You know what I'm saying? You think Barack Obama was Salesman of the Year with his rhetoric? You start walking around and talking around like you're going to defund the police, an explosive growth.
Hold on. Remember, though.
Yeah?
Nobody in politics is. That's the game. They somehow tricked us into arguing against something no one's actively pushing for in office. No one. Mm-hmm. Not Nancy Pelosi, not Chuck Schumer, not Joe Biden. You can say probably the three, faces of the Democratic Party. Upcoming nominee, Speaker of the House, Senate Majority Leader. But why are we discussing this?
No, I'm not saying. Okay, I'll tell you exactly why we're discussing it. Because I don't actually believe it could ever get through. without like a 2/3 supermajority of some state assembly somewhere, and that's never going to happen. You're not going to get 2 out of 3 elected officials.
Beyond that, no active Democrat in House that I know, maybe there's some that I advocate, but the leadership of the Democrats, so what I mean, are not advocating for this. Nobody is.
No. You can't
There's
say.
random people.
Oh,
in the
no,
streets.
hold on.
Dude, there's people in the streets. I could literally find you thousands of libertarians that want to get rid of driver's licenses, get rid of age of consent laws, and legalize all drugs. It doesn't mean that's like literally a push. They're talking about this at the Libertarian Convention. They actually put people into office, or they try. I mean, they run them for office, and they actually advocate for these things, man. I could find just as many. It's hilarious. They've got us drummed up.
Let me finish
like
my
this is
point.
a thing that's getting traction and gaining. It's really not.
I never said it's gaining traction legislatively, but it's definitely gaining traction in the culture of the zeitgeist of America and pop culture.
In the media astroturfing, yes, and people writing phony articles like that one in Forbes telling you things that literally are not going to happen or to happen.
Okay,
I mean,
so,
like, yes, dude, when the media astroturfs a cause and just convinces you it's real out of nothing, it feels like it, but I don't see the there anyway.
And all these progressive, look, I just went past 5 defund the police signs on the street corner on the drive to the studio.
Okay, and let me tell you something.
So you can't say nobody's pushing for it.
Let me tell you something. Do you know how serious people that run for office take that?
No, I'm not talking about how serious they take it. Let me get to the end of my point. The point is that if I were a progressive, before I actually...
Libertarians, like I said, libertarians be like, why can't I marry an 8-year-old and sell it heroin? Is that like a legitimate thing we're actually talking about?
Okay.
That's
no.
like fringe weird stuff people say. I agree.
Okay, there's not 2,000 libertarians on the street corner right now holding up signs saying eliminate the age of consent. Okay, but there's 50 people on the street corner over here right now saying defund the police. And if I were a progressive, okay, and I actually wanted to make my movement and my ideals and my beliefs, okay, of better policing one step closer to reality, I wouldn't be saying foolish nonsense like defund the police that just makes you look horrendously bad and then ends up ultimately going against everything else that I believe in. Okay?
Who are you speaking to? You're speaking to just random people. I agree. Random people that say weird things. Hey, man, maybe not want to say those things. People might take it a certain way. But, like, dude, this is being taken so seriously that apparently even Chris Kaliza at CNN is like, hold on, guys. Is this just a bad mistake to talk about?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's a massive political mistake.
But it's being made by, like who? It's being made by the city council in Minneapolis. Wow, that's some big politicians. I mean, and even them, we'll see how strict they really are. They announced that they will do it. Let's see if they do.
Look, nobody thought Medicare for All was going to be a thing until it became a slogan that nobody took seriously, until it became Obamacare.
Hey, wait, hold on. Medicare for All not only is not a thing, it's so much not a thing. The Democrats are having articles spike the football laughing about the fact that it will never be a thing. Think about that. I mean, what is this right here? Look at this article I just showed you guys. It literally starts with the first sentence. If Democrats win back the Senate this fall, don't expect a rush to pass the Green New Deal Medicare for All. It's so much not a thing, they joke about how it's not coming.
Okay.
Just saying, man. I stopped actually looking. I just kind of cursorily glanced at the news for a few days. I hoped they would do me right. Now, a lot of people are just writing BS out there lying to you about what's going on. People actually are trying to do. Politicians are trying to get reelected, and they knew day one that, like I showed you in that Forbes article, the author could only guess. I imagine that the opposition to this would have to be like Donald Trump or something, right? Who else would oppose this, right? Look at here. They have a little opposition thing. The chief critic. They even mentioned this, that this is an article written yesterday, man, saying that President Trump has been a frequent and vocal opponent of defunding the police, tying Democrats, and in particular, former Vice President Joe Biden to the proposal. Which, by the way, Joe Biden came out and showed you today and said he does not support.
Yeah, I know that.
So what, are the chief critics now Trump and Biden? Weird. It's a bipartisan issue, I guess. Open and shut case, not going to happen. I mean, I just don't understand that. I get that there was some activist groups talking about this, but activist groups talk about a lot of stuff. It doesn't mean that there's politicians reacting to this, and I had a lot of people I felt like trying to push to me, this is totally really going to happen, this is totally a real thing, there's totally really Democrats advocating for this stuff, and I look around and say, it doesn't look like it. Looks like they're writing big long think pieces, quoting social media users, talking about it. I don't think it's a good idea. You know? It looks like the city of Minneapolis' mayor is like, I don't want to do this. Local community groups like, we don't want this to happen. I don't know. That's kind of what it feels like is actually going on. It feels like the Hill Democrats don't want to lose, so they're currently squashing the liberal push to defund the police, using things like the Congressional Black Caucus to go out there and say this is a stupid distraction we shouldn't be getting in.
You know what's so interesting is sometimes I've wondered what would happen if progressives either just started their own party. They'd get squashed by both. I know you thought that. But what if they actually tried being Republicans? We interviewed that one guy from Brooklyn who was a progressive that first ran as a Republican. And I thought, if you really wanted to do police reform, because I'm a huge fan of police reform. I've actually been in a lawsuit.
Republicans run against Republicans?
What'd you say?
Why would a Republican run against a Republican?
Well, I mean, if you were trying to do the wing of the party argument.
Oh, and do we get the new member?
Yes. I was going to give him a shout out here in a second. You're talking about Foduk, I think was his name.
Yeah, and the other one too. Sorry.
I was a little bit confused because Trev Third said, hey, just joined, but I didn't see his icon change. But then there's this other member that came up and I wasn't sure if that was him, but it's Fotik. So Fotik, welcome to Problem Solver Politics. We got 2 new members today, which is super exciting. Thanks for joining, guys. But I've always thought, what if progressives, I mean, they have been absolutely steamrolled by the DNC. What if they tried their hand at the Republican Party? You know, I think you might be able to convince your average just Christian grandma that's getting on these email lists. Sagar and Jetty today was talking about Christian grandmas and their email lists and how they get taken advantage of by Republicans and Republican groups. And there's a lot of just boomer Republicans who believe in limited government, who are actually very well versed in civil rights and in individual freedoms and so on and so forth. And arguments of maybe don't say defund the police, but like either defund bad departments or else defund police violence or else hold violent cops accountable or whatever. I almost wonder if you couldn't get farther with those people if your ideals were to actually initiate strict reform within the police department, because I think there's actually more arguments for what the progressives want here from a limited government angle and a civil rights, constitutional rights angle than there is from a social leftism angle. Does that make sense?
Once again, like I said, as far as I know, no one's actually campaigning on this. That was an astroturfed idea. The media spun it to you. On social media, people tweeted about it, sure. Nancy Pelosi's like, hell no. Joe Biden, hell no.
The media didn't spin it to me. I've seen it on 15 signs in the past 15 minutes.
Okay, but it doesn't
Even though I've been here for the past 15 minutes.
It means so much that the Democrat bean counters came out and said, you could lose all those people because they don't vote anyway. Who cares? Ignore them.
That's true.
That's how much it means. It means Nancy Pelosi, who definitely probably every now and then she'll say something kind of unpopular. For the most part, Nancy Pelosi is more or less tuned into the Democrat base. Hey, they're talking about the Senate Democrats. Apparently, Chuck Schumer's batting 1,000 over there, man. You don't come for him in that Senate and a progressive is candidates. Progressives get ran out.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it isn't actually the platform of the Democrats. It's funny. It was dropped onto them hilariously enough. Because we assumed it does say something that their language made us say they probably would be for it, but I think it's hilarious. They all come out today and just say, "No, not gonna happen. We don't agree with this."
Yeah,
I mean, I love that. I love how they characterize the opposition in Minneapolis. It's only the mayor, the public, and the community.
Yeah,
it's only them.
It's only everybody.
Yeah, it's only opposition from everything.
No, they didn't mention. You know what? They didn't mention church leaders. That's the only one I think they. Oh no, community groups, that counts. We got some funny comments here. John LeMay says, I don't feel as though I fit into the Republican or Democrat Party. It would be nice if there were more options than just Dem and Republican. Cody's got a theory on that. He says...
It would be nice, yeah, wouldn't it? It would be nice if the two biggest mafias in the country, the RNC and DNC, didn't force you into voting for one and picking a side. That'd be great. That'd be great if... Do you know how moderates work in other countries when you have multiple parties? I'm not saying I advocate for it. I'm just saying you can have a party that's literally like a moderate party. You can have like degrees almost. Like the farthest left party, the farthest right parties, and the various parties in the middle. But now when you have two, it kind of radicalizes you to one or the other. Yeah. Hey, do you know who decides who's on the debate stage for the general nominee now for president?
Oh. The media. It
hasn't always been that way. No. Primaries, who they host when it comes to the general debates, the debate for the actual office of president.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
discuss the rules ahead of time. Been that way, I think, like 30 years. I think it goes back to like the 80s or 90s, where they just decide. Now, there's no law that says America has to have two parties called the Republicans and the Democrats. I don't think that exists.
Yeah,
but I believe the bylaws of the debates more or less are a Democrat and we each put our fighter up, and then like.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you can find lip service where they're like, we of course would welcome a third party if they polled at certain thresholds or X or Y and Z. But the reason why they're never going to poll at certain thresholds is because, again,
they're kept from being able to participate in the process.
The DNC and RNC make sure you pick a side and go one or the other. So yeah, it would be nice. A lot of people would love to pick another party. Man, I'd love to have another party to pick. It'd be great. But no, if you don't like, I mean, imagine that. Imagine if, like, I'll tell you what. If Pepsi and Coke could have it their way, there'd be no anything else. No RC Colas, no what are they? Nothing else. That's it. There's Monster and Red Bull. There's no Bangs. There's
you don't like Activia?
Yeah.
Or what's that one calorie one that tastes like?
It's really nice when if you're competing in a market that's voters, which is what 70 million Americans, something like that. Yeah, it's nice if you can eliminate the competition. It's just one or the other. Because then you can get people to vote for you that don't even really like you that much. They're just like, well, I guess I hate you a little less.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist when there's multiple parties to go with. I only hate you a little instead of a lot. So I'll give you my support. But when you eliminate it, there's only two. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
so find out they're the same. So
Kickbatter says something interesting here. Kickbatter says, get rid of civil forfeitures, which direct fund departments, and also decriminalize most drugs, which also directly fund departments. What do you think of that, Cody? Get rid of civil forfeitures, which direct fund departments, and also decriminalize most drugs, which also directly fund departments. I'm huge on the decriminalization aspect.
But like, why do we have police? Like, what do they do? Like, what do police do?
Well, they're supposedly supposed to protect and serve, and by protect, I mean protect the civil rights of the citizenry, and then also serve the community.
Okay, but like, what do they actually do?
Write traffic tickets.
Well, they enforce the law, right? Is that not what they actually do? Like, that's basically what they do. They enforce the laws, but like, who writes the laws? Whose laws? Remember when police were recently enforcing mayor's decrees and governor's decrees?
Yeah.
Not even laws?
Yeah.
Like, they act at the behest of the governor and because did you know how most cities' police departments are set up? Well, at the top of the police is like the chief of police or the commissioner.
Yeah.
Well, who's above them? The mayor.
Well, it's usually the mayor.
Yeah, the mayor. That's actually who's at the top of the police. He hired some places, I think you vote for one and they hire one, I believe. I think different cities do it differently, right? But my point being is, that's what the police work for. They work for the mayor. They work for the governor.
Yeah. Like,
seriously, what happened when the governor and the mayor said stay in your home and people didn't? They sent the police to stop you from going outside. Because that's their job. So why would the government give up the people who enforce their wills on us? That doesn't make any sense from the government's perspective. It really doesn't. Seriously, why bother writing laws if the people tasked with enforcing them don't exist? Yeah, got no point. What's the point in even making a decree if I don't have police to go arrest people at churches? If Bill de Blasio says he'll reduce funding for the police, he's not going to reduce funding for the police that go arrest Jewish people for having too many people in their church. Those police will always be funded. Because you have to make sure you enforce your will on the people through the police. That's why they exist. That's what they do. They literally, even in protecting and serving. I mean, they as far as I know, maybe they can. No, it's true. Think about it. Think about like people who get stalked and stuff. Like legally, they can't protect you. They haven't broken any laws.
Yeah.
Isn't that what the cops say? I can't protect you because they haven't broken any laws because they're not actually. By the way, the Supreme Court ruled it's not the responsibility of the police to actually protect people. I think it was in a stalking cases when this came up. Yeah. The police don't have to protect you. It's not their job. Their job is to enforce the laws, make sure they're being followed. Because the government is telling us what to do through the laws, and someone's got to make us do it. So why would the government get rid of the police? It doesn't make any sense. That's why you'll notice it's not happening.
Yeah.
Everyone in the government's like, hell no. Even the mayor of Minneapolis like, hell no, I'm not doing that. It's crazy. How can I just tell people what to do? They wouldn't listen to me. I wouldn't have the police to make them listen anymore.
Yeah. I
wouldn't be able to arrest people for daring to open their business against my will.
Well,
that's able to arrest someone for body surfing.
To me, that makes it even more stupid for progressives to have called for this in the first place. Because even though no official in his right mind would have ever jumped on board with it, it just makes you look so bad. because now you look like you're somebody who's not even integral. You're somebody that can't even make a completely straight thought or even self-analyze what they're saying, because progressives are always looking to change laws on behalf of who? The poor, the downtrodden, the environment, the so on and so forth. Well, if you get rid of the people that enforce the laws that you want to change, why would you even be advocating for change in laws in the first place if there's going to be nobody there to enforce the laws that you change? It's like saying I want to grow up to be a runner and then I'm gonna outlaw shoes.
But again,
I don't get that.
That's why, again, to the point, it's not like a serious movement. It's not going anywhere. It doesn't benefit anyone. It benefits people that can afford paramilitaries, really. It's about it.
We got an interesting question here.
PMCs.
Knox404, thank you for the super chat. Says, I asked my grandfather, and he said in his 72 years of life, he has never had to call the police. What do you call the police for?
I mean, when I worked in a retail store, I had to call the police because there was just... I called the police because I saw people committing crimes a couple times.
Really? Like what, dude?
I saw one guy beating his girlfriend in a car. That was weird, so I called the police.
Oh, jeez.
They're on meth, I think, or maybe crack. On some kind of drug that made them hyper. I could tell. One time we had to call the police because we didn't know where, but someone had clearly been viciously stabbed outside of our establishment. We came in the morning. The bodies weren't there, but there was just a pool of blood with trails leading away.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Jeez, Cody.
Tell you what, though, when I was at work though one time when I really needed something handled, they weren't breaking any laws technically. I used to work at a store that, it's hard to explain. Basically, we sold it. We let you buy and roll your own cigarettes. Anyway, one of the people used to come in that was a friend of mine, I guess. I mean, I wouldn't call him a friend. He was of the vagrant weirdos that came in. He was one of the more friendlier with them. And I would sell him cheap tobacco, and he was friendly with me. And his racket was he would trade. He had a motorhome, and if you gave him stolen things, he would trade you meth for them. But like in a really bad exchange, so like he's fleecing you.
Oh, okay.
Like someone would bring him like a TV antenna worth a couple $100, and he'd give him like $20 worth of meth. So he was doing pretty good. He had his little motorhome, and he had a couple little dudes that ran with him.
Wow.
There were these two guys that used to wake up every morning in the bushes. I'd see them begging for money in the morning when I was getting my coffee, and then they get drunk and mostly just harass people outside. And they're harassing my customers. I actually had one of our customers knocked one of the guys out once. Anyway, the individual with the motorhome was in the store one day. And again, I can't call the cops on these homeless people. They'll just come back, right? But that individual came in the store one day, and these two guys walked by the window, and he kind of saw them, and they saw him, and they walked away. And I mentioned that, I'm like, this guy's driving me crazy. They're always have to cause some problems. And he was just like, hey, do you want me to, like, take care of it? Like, whatever, yeah, sure. Take care of it. I literally never saw those two guys ever again.
No.
Every time I had to call the police on homeless people that were just not even homeless, but just like the vagrants that wander in and cause trouble, or the ones that stay in the bushes the whole time, they couldn't do anything about it. They couldn't make them do anything. They just come back. Never saw those two guys again. They didn't come back. So I will say that the one time I did need, someone to take care of people that were causing me problems wasn't the police that did it.
Whoa. Who was this cat?
I'm not gonna say more than that. He just told you he was selling drugs. Just a guy.
Oh wow. Oh jeez.
Yeah.
Rock
anyway,
on.
So I guess just to your point, right?
Is he part of that 10 and 15% of bad people in America that Joe Biden has established is just factual analysis? Did you hear that one today, Cody? People are trying to make it so that Joe Biden has his deplorable moment. I don't know if I'm necessarily buying into it. To me, it just seems like...
Is that not any different? I think... Doesn't, like, Sam Harris say functionally the same thing?
Yeah, I was about to say. By the way, to me...
Like 10% of people
I didn't really disagree with Joe Biden on this one. I thought, 10 to 50% of our population is sick.
No, but it's not like a real thing. Like, there's a certain percent that are actually sociopaths and psychopaths. It's, like, literally, like...
Oh, that's less than 1%. Oh, yeah. It's like 1 out of every 2,300 people or something absurd like that.
Either way, I'm just saying that, like, I didn't personally take too much of that.
Yeah. By the way, Cody, I mean, who is this guy, dude? We got to know who this guy is. Can he take care of some people nowadays? Do you got connections, Cody? Is this the Italian side of you coming out, man? I'm loving this.
He was the guy that happened to have some influence in the area. I guess he wasn't homeless, right? He had a motorhome and he sold drugs. He was enterprising out of it. It's fleecing people left and right, man. They give him like he'd laugh and tell me stories like, dude, people give me this stuff and I give them like nothing. They get a few dollars in return. It was weird. It was in a interesting beach community in California. We had this place, And
So we're getting some really interesting comments here on why people have called the cops here. Anastasia's dad said he called the cops on a guy who was peeing in his elevator. So Anastasia's dad is either a very wealthy person that has an elevator in his home that a homeless guy got into, or he lives in an apartment building that has an elevator.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's the apartment building, but yeah, that's true, dude. New York elevators in certain parts of town, they all smell like urine, and it's gross because it's hard to get out. A lot of people are saying WTF Cody. Cody is Heisenberg, and that could have ended bad. Yeah, that was pretty Heisenberg story right there, Cody.
I know. I literally would see this individual like multiple times a day. Like I knew he wasn't. I don't think he killed them. I think it's just he parked his motorhome there, and he said, as long as I'm here, don't come back around. Because like I said, I would give him pretty good discounts on tobacco. I mean, I will admit, yeah, that was kind of the
dude. Was
idea.
That your grift? Did he come? Was that your grift?
That was kind of the rub. Yeah, I'd give him a discount, and he makes sure people. Dude, at one of our another location.
Dude, Cody's Heisenberg. You're not Cody the Oracle anymore, dude. You're Cody Heisenberg, man.
It's just I don't know. It's just the way you do things. I mean, we had another store out there as well, a little bit different, similar kind of business, right? And we had a problem because part of the stuff we'd sweep away and throw out would be loose tobacco, and people would try to dig it out of the trash. They'd fight each other over it, all kinds of stuff, because it's just loose tobacco. If you get it out, you could still sell it. I mean, a lot of homeless people where this was, and so we had a guy, and we told him, like, look, if you keep that area clean and you keep people out of there, you could just stay in that little dumpster thing. And he loved it. He made sure it stayed clean and people didn't get in there. I'm like, all right, fine. Works for us, works for you.
With his little motorhome, huh?
No, this was a different individual who was just in the dumpster unit. It was weird. It was an interesting area, man. Interesting area, interesting part of town. Like I said, a lot of homeless people coming and going and staying there. And we said, look, man, you can have all the whatever. Just if you keep it clean, we won't kick you out of there in the morning, right? For staying in there. And he liked it because he was able to, get the tobacco and stuff. It was weird stuff, man. I'm just saying that. Yeah, it was just that was the rub.
So a lot of people are asking Cody, did you get 2 people killed? did you get 2 people killed?
I doubt it. I don't think he'd kill them. But yeah, he probably just said.
So Y-Band Craft brings up the point that this is Cody's origin story. You know what I'm saying? This is a pretty sick origin story right here. I got to admit, I never knew this side of you, Cody. This is pretty wild. A.O. Byron saying defund the police. Funny. And then Sly Cactus says, Cody knew a guy. Forget about it. Bada bing. Bada bing, bada bing.
It really isn't. It's not that interesting. It's seriously, if you say, it just, like I said, there's a lot of homeless people there. There was nothing
Cody, I'm afraid to disagree with you again now, man.
Just,
no more disagreements with Cody.
Well, people were going to be there regardless. And might as well, the ones that were decent enough, treat them well so they would kind of help keep things. Like I said, man, when things weren't like that, people were getting stabbed out there at nighttime, and then we come in the morning to be blood or all kinds of weird stuff. It was bad, but that's why you just be nice to people. Well, you be nice to people, you help them out. Well, if they help you out in return, and that's what happens.
So, one last I will answer this question because I can't believe this person doesn't know it, man. We've talked about this before. Shadow Wolf says, I'm still curious how Cody and Cardin met. We actually met at the radio station, at the local radio station. I actually had this show as a local radio show called Problem Solver Politics on FM 98.1, and Cody was the board op and was the technician there. And I wanted to engage in more national conversation, and I wanted it to be more than just once a week for an hour on Sundays. So we decided to take it to the interwebs, and here we are over a year later. It was pretty awesome. So a lot of people bring up the point that we don't need police with Cody and his friends patrolling the streets, and Cody's now the tobacco king. So he's Cody Heisenberg, the tobacco king. He'll get you killed if you mess with him.
You guys are funny. You want to know what actually happened? You want to know what happened? You want to know that story ended?
How'd it end?
The real mafia, the government came in and shut us down. So.
Oh, really? What was their beef as to why they could shut you down?
We were skirting tax laws. That was the business model.
Oh.
We skipped like 3 taxes in our process. We had a different process. They call it skirting. I call it totally legitimate. But
okay.
Functionally, I don't know if any of you guys are smokers. Probably a lot of people are nowadays. If you go to the store and buy a tri-pack of cigarettes in California, they're like around $7, $8, $9, $10. For those of you who don't know, the things that are inside of a cigarette almost entirely grow in the ground, like weeds, like tobacco and trees. So they shouldn't cost $7, $8, $9. It's all taxes. Tax people that grow tobacco a lot. Tax people that cultivate the tobacco a lot. They tax the people that transport the tobacco a lot. They tax the people who cut the full leaves of tobacco into a finer finer to be used for rolling. They tax them a lot. The act of rolling tobacco into a cigarette's a taxable act and gets taxed. And then distribution, packaging, all that stuff, right? Shipping, all that stuff. And then you, the consumer, you pay a big tax. So the model we had was you buy raw tobacco and you buy the papers and the filter materials you need, and then we had a machine on premise that did the combining for you. There we go. That's the gist of it.
Wow, dude, like DIY cigarettes, huh?
Oh yeah, you can still buy them online. If anyone out there is a smoker, tired of paying a ton of money for cigarettes, you can still do that on the internet. You can go anywhere. You buy, though there's some pipe tobacco they call pipe tobacco. It's not pipe tobacco. It's actually cigarette tobacco or rolling tobacco, but it's cut slightly longer. If you cut tobacco too short, so it'd be more convenient for rolling for cigarettes, it gets taxed higher. Oh, yeah, all that nonsense. But like I said, the tax man didn't feel like he was getting enough, so the real mafia came and shut us down. Again, why they'll never disband the police. You know who would have made sure we closed and stopped running the way we weren't going to run if we just said to hell with you, we're not? Eventually the police. The government would have sent somebody with a gun to the store and said, you must stop.
Yeah. So Sly Cactus brings a point that is indeed how the mafia works. And Bo Watson says, should sin tax be a thing? I don't even think they're called sin taxes
here's the thing.
anymore in some places, are they?
To most voters, and I'm not saying this, I'm not trying to get too political on this, but cigarette smokers aren't people. You could basically tax their
they're
water
there with white
times
supremacists.
50 million and no one will say anything. I know. I'm not a smoker, but I remember seeing people come in, man. It sucked for them how much they would. Because here's the thing. People don't care. They're just, check a box, raise the thing. And it's just like, these people are addicted to cigarettes. They smoke them all the time. Like, they don't smoke less or stop smoking. They just come to my store instead because they can't afford how much the prices were going up. And it's hilarious. No one cares. How many people ask how to get so high? How the taxes get so high? Because no one's going to be like, whoa, we shouldn't tax cigarettes. How dare we tax smokers? Everyone's like, the hell with them.
Karyoshi 1 brings up a good point. Says, sounds like a lot of work for something inferior to weed. And Mateusz Ostrowski, I think one of my Polish brothers here.
Also, it wouldn't roll you like 5 or 6 cigarettes. It would roll you them by a carton, which is 200. People would also come because they could buy. My customers, 200? People who smoke a lot of cigarettes. People who smoke multiple cartons a week, really. It was a good business, man. Sustainable.
So
the government came.
Apparently in Poland, cigarettes are really expensive, so Russian ones are smuggled in and sold on the black market.
In America,
I was about to say, sounds a lot like our prohibition.
So stupid. People will drive from I think, is it Philadelphia to New York? I think the laws are better. People will drive a couple 50, 60 miles across state lines to buy cigarettes cheaper.
Wow.
They're not $10 in all of America. You can go to parts of the country and they're still like $4 or $5 because it's local tax laws. And guess what happens? You know what? Remember the story of Eric Garner, the guy who was the original I Can't Breathe police thing? He literally was stopped by the police for selling cigarettes.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't, back east where it's an issue where the borders are close enough with the state lines, you do not drive. Think about that. Another reason why. If you disband the police, who pulls people over to harass them for driving across state lines with too many cartons of cigarettes?
Yeah.
You have to have someone do that so you make sure the taxes get collected. Someone's got to do that.
Yeah, so Sly Cactus is asking if you saw the last live stream with my controversial insights onto evolution.
No,
and
not.
That which has been debunked and that which has been proven of Darwin's original 4-prong theory.
No, I gotta admit though, don't care about evolution, man. Whatever people want to think, people want to think.
Yeah, I figured you'd say that. Dustin says, in the failed drug war, I'm right up there with you. And Bo Watson does bring up a good point that I'm pretty sure we fought the revolution because we could only sell tobacco to Britain. Well, I mean, it was actually taxation without representation, and then they were going to tax tea. That's why they ended up throwing up the tea into the Boston Tea Party. Tobacco was indeed given, I believe, a 1% excise tax. Like, can you believe that? Like, in America, we were fighting over like a 0.5% excise tax on tobacco and tea and wind. I think glass. Okay, but like stained glass was one of the things that was.
Was it the number that they were fighting over? Was there a number that they were not asked about and had imposed on them? They would.
I think even libertarians would accept a 0.5% taxation at this point.
It wasn't the number. Remember when they said?
No, I get it. It was taxation without representation.
But it wasn't even that. It was the fact that they were being ruled by a foreign government they didn't want to be ruled by.
Yeah, which is taxation without representation.
That is the slogan. That's what you put on your Instagram. I agree. But yes, that's why they fought the English and not the taxation.
Yeah. So, anyway, Trev Third, Cake Batter says, or stopping cars to check for fireworks. I think that's a travesty that we don't allow fireworks.
Yeah,
We've had a failed
police
war on
who enforces
fireworks.
those laws.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
The war is that Fox News is new. The war.
Yeah, and
the war on fireworks. More it ain't.
Inforno234 is adamant on this one. Says, have you guys been listening to Yang's podcast, and what is your reaction to it so far? I got to tell you, Inforno234, the first one was all right. The second one I found woefully boring. Was it the second one that I found woefully boring?
The one with him and Zach, the first one, I really did struggle to get through.
Yeah,
the
that was
subsequent
difficult.
Ones, like the one was he had to, what was it? I listened to the Sam Harris one. I think listened to the Van Jones. I'm behind. I listened to a couple. I like the ones I listened to. I like some of the ones I listened to.
Yeah.
The first one that was just him and
the
Zach,
first one was kind of painful.
I really did not like.
Yeah,
that was tough.
I think it was the first one that was bad. I remember I listened to... No, actually, no, you're right. It was the first one. It wasn't the second one. Yeah, I mean, they're all right. There's nothing sobresaliente, which means there's nothing outstanding in comparison to other podcasts, other than the fact that, we like Andrew Yang, but he does talk a lot about a lot of stuff that we already sold him on, or he already sold us on. I'm interested. With Andrew Yang, this is what I'm interested in. I'm interested in seeing what he does with the UBI caucus. So, Dustin, are you laughing at Dustin's comments?
Exactly. Dude.
Okay, Dustin, that's pretty funny. You got to join, by the way, Dustin. You make funny comments. I want to be able to see yours.
Fireworks are a gateway into larger explosives.
Fireworks are a gateway into larger explosives, kids. Don't you? You might be using M80s by the end of the week.
Well, also, speaking of, police would love to ban fireworks. People stop throwing them at them. But I don't know. I thought, oh, I didn't hear this guy Mucci one. I need to listen to more. I could tell he was just getting more into form. To be honest, I don't really listen to any audio podcasts. I probably listen more. I've listened to Andrew Yang's audio podcast probably more than any other audio podcast in the last 5 years. So, still trying to get more used to it. I don't know. I will literally listen to YouTube videos before I listen to podcasts, and I honestly don't know why.
You know what? I'm actually with you there. And I think it's because, can I suggest what draws me in on YouTube videos over straight audio podcasts, Cody?
I don't care. What is it?
The visual element. I feel like there's more communication. Even if somebody is just like me talking into the microphone right now, the use of the hands, the visual on the face, all of those additional nuances aid in the communication process. And I can still tune out. Like if I'm driving, I'll actually pull up the YouTube video and you can glance at it. You can see what's going on when you're at stop signs. If you're the passenger, you can be watching it. But if you got to pay attention to something else, you can still listen and get it. I feel that a YouTube presentation with audio and video is still a superior form of communication than just straight audio.
Like I said, I literally...
That's what attracts me.
Yeah, no, I mean, I will literally just not look at the phone for a second. You know what attracts me? I'm used to going to the YouTube app and not my podcast app. If I was more used to going to my podcast app, I can actually tell you exactly why I use YouTube more than my podcast app. I know why. Because I'm stupid, and I have one of those social media monkey brains, and I like being able to just scroll by the never-changing pictures on YouTube. I don't get that in my podcast apps. I don't get just the never-changing pictures over and over again. I'll sit there and just scroll through YouTube and not even watch a video and just look at the pictures change and the titles change.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they done you dirty.
I look like the video of the monkey on I look just like that, but on YouTube.
So Sharpie Diesel says you need to find good podcasts. Chat, I'm really curious. Last time we talked about what good movies are, the Hive Mind gave me a list of some very good movies that I'm going to check out. Still haven't seen The Platform, but that will be on our list. I'm curious, what are some good podcasts that you guys listen to?
Also, Tim Marilla brought up lectures. Yes, I'll listen to lectures. I'll pull up lectures too. But again, it's because I find them more readily on YouTube, I think, than in podcasts. So that's the app I use.
Oh, that's so interesting. So I'm curious, what do you think about Democrats taking a knee today in Congress? Was that just unabashed political theater?
I don't care.
What about those outfits? Did you like the outfits?
That was a little funny.
Yeah, that was kind of...
I do.
Where'd that come from?
I do agree at a certain point. It's like, I don't know. You think these people are pandering to you?
Yeah.
You
know what kind of bothers me about that?
Like, I don't know. Maybe. How about this? I believe one of the reporters notes that Nancy Pelosi needed to be helped up from her knee because her stiletto heels were too big.
So. Oh, well, first off, I say you go, girl, for wearing stilettos. All right? So I give her credit, and she needs to be an example for all ladies everywhere because heels only make you more elegant. But also, I've never really understood. I'm with you on this one. Like, why does it have to be African American? Why can't it just be American? And there seems to be this push in many circles of civil rights to augment, I don't know, the Africanness of the term African American, when in reality it's like, no, dude, they're American. They're ours, man. You know what I'm saying? They're ours. They're not Namibias. They're not Zimbabwe's. They're not Mozambiques. They're ours. Like, they're my citizens, my fellow Americans, not my fellow human beings from Zimbabwe. No, like, so their experience is American, and we need to celebrate their stories as American stories because they have triumphed in the American sphere and gone from rags to riches, from bottom to top. Like,
Okay, but I have a question.
let's
for
celebrate it as an American story.
you. What else do you wear at the photo op?
You know, see, that's why I think there needs to be a new black
Like,
power.
What else do you wear to the photo op?
There needs to be a new black power.
It doesn't matter what the more appropriate symbol to wear. At the pandering press conference for the photo op, you wear whatever they tell you to wear, man.
There's a market there, and somebody needs to take it.
It's all matching. Obviously, these were distributed to them, or they were told. Like, this wasn't like some organic thing. It was,
By the way, what budget pays for that? Is there like a budget in the congressional office called like the theatrical or the political theater budget? Like, every senator is allowed $500 worth of political theater. You know, who actually paid for those woven looking scarves?
I don't know who paid for the pens that Nancy Pelosi brought in specifically to sign the impeachment thing.
Oh, that's a good one.
I'll tell you, it's the same person, both of us, and everyone watching. It's taxpayers who pay for all this stuff.
I thought you were gonna say it was George Soros.
I'm not crazy. No,
Yeah.
it's taxpayers. They were who actually pay for this stuff because the government doesn't have. Actually, does the government have businesses? I don't think they do they?
What'd you say?
The post office. Isn't there some things that are ran functionally as businesses, but their revenue goes back to like it gets flux? I don't know.
Yeah, but see, the post office has not been profitable in like 20 years.
Either way, yeah, the government has to get money from us. That's just how. It's where they get it. We're their source of income. So. You know, it's not like we don't have like U.S. government mines, you know, digging up gold, I don't think. Maybe we do. I don't think we do.
Okay. Mateusz Ostrakowski says, I was asked by a black girl from the UK why it's African American, or quote, African American, end quote, and not just black American. Sure. I think that's one step closer to how I feel.
Because African American is more divisive and it's more letters. It's more letters in between American to remind you thare different. I don't get it either, man. It really does feel like that's why this stuff exists, is solely to divide people, which sucks. I don't know, but what are you gonna do? Oh, you gonna decide we change the way we talk about each other? I don't know, man. It is what it is.
All right, cool. So,
tariffs. That's a good source of income. Yeah, I think the FBI, when they seize money from drug lords and stuff, but that goes back to the FBI, right? Even though does FBI even seize money from drug lords anymore? It's DEA now, isn't it? I think they like literally created the DEA so the FBI can go hunt terrorists.
Yeah. No, the DEA goes back to the 70s, I thought.
Okay, or whatever, expanded it.
Didn't Jimmy Carter start the DEA?
Who knows? Probably whoever.
Okay.
Who hated poor people the most? They like, we need to create a branch that entraps people and puts them in jail for 50 years. What are we going to call it? The DEA. That's brilliant.
That's funny.
I don't know what they call it, but yeah, I guess that is another good way. I guess the government has other ways of stealing money from people.
So Biden has rejected calls to defund the police, and there's been a reform bill, all right, that's supposedly going to ban chokeholds and make all the civil suits against cops easier and so on and so forth. You don't think that's going to go anywhere?
Well, no, I definitely think they'll change. Yeah, I'm just saying that like the defund and abolish police, those movements.
Well, because Biden's in a tough spot. You remember what Biden did in the 90s? You were young.
I know he signed the crime bill.
Yeah,
yes.
Well, not just the crime bill. He actually specifically advocated. This was like a Joe Biden thing. He specifically advocated for a bill of rights for the cops. For like a police union bill of rights, for a cops bill of rights. And that was post our Rodney King riots here, right over the hill.
Yeah, because Joe Biden's a politician and he just says whatever the hell he thinks he has to say.
No, he's a special brand of cynical, my friend. He's a special brand of cynical.
Bo Watson says, do we have the right to understand what we spend our taxes on? Nope. I believe sometimes you literally will have to file a Freedom of Information request, and they'll charge you for it to find out what your money's being spent on. Isn't that hilarious?
Yeah.
They'll charge you and make you come to them hat in hand begging, please, 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 sir, can you tell me where my money's going?
Yeah.
And they'll say, well, think about it. Messed up, man.
So, anyway, have you
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, banning the chokehold. Who enforces the ban? The police unions? The police union's going to make sure they definitely fire people? You know what's a joke, and it's true. You know how a government middle manager gets rid of an employee?
How does a governmental man? They don't. They just rubber room them and send them to a different department.
No, they get rid of them. How do they get rid of them?
I don't know how they do
They
it.
promote them. Congratulations, you've been promoted to not my problem.
Oh, that's funny.
It's true, man. That's what happens. Bad police probably get promoted. Same way bad teachers. If someone's your problem and you cannot fire them and there's nothing you could do and you're responsible for their mistakes, promote them away from you. And that's what happens a lot. Just because, yeah, we have problems with how like government unions and how government employees. Dude, I was reading a story. We might want to do a video on this. There's I believe, a sheriff in Florida who's been fired 5 times and arrested 3. And just got reinstated again.
Oh, wow.
You can't fire government employees. They got unions and stuff, man. You can't fire them.
So I got a question for you, Cody. We've talked a lot about, for the 20 minutes where America considered defunding the police, and the one really stupid city council that took that idea seriously, and I'm sure they will be amply rewarded for their efforts. But I'm reading Herald Net here from Everett, Washington, that there's a town where 100 armed vigilantes are supposedly pledging to defend the city, and that there's armed vigilantes actually starting to defend places. Are we starting to get like proto security companies here where it's like I'm just going to go over to my buddy's house? And I had a couple people ask if I would sleep in my SUV with my AR-15 at their house. You know what I'm saying? Is that actually going to start happening, you think?
I mean, a little bit. I mean, like, sure. Will it be necessary? We'll see. I doubt it.
Okay.
I doubt it. I mean, like I said, man, the governor or the mayor, Lori Lightfoot in Chicago, last time I checked, had spent almost $2 million to hire private security to augment the police forces and kind of bolster their ranks and increase their numbers. And really what it does is it gives the police somebody to go tell to beat a protester, and then they just fire the contractor tomorrow. Who cares? They don't got no union.
Yeah.
City will apologize and fire them. Like they're just hiring accountability shields. It's kind of like organized crime does this. They tell people to commit crimes for them, or kids and stuff that can't go to jail for as long. There's actually there's a kind of like a farcical version of this, but there's the show Trailer Park Boys where they figure out that they game all the laws, they game the minimums. Like as long as you steal under a certain amount and as long as you're under a certain age, like they can't charge you. But yeah, like I guess but we have the police doing that now. They realize, these security people we contract, just fire them. Who cares? They got no one protecting them. We'll hire them, bring them in, throw them on the front lines, make them fight people for us, and then throw them under the bus.
Yeah, if
they don't like it, we'll just hire new ones.
We got 2 interesting comments here too. Cake Batter says African Americans asked for hundreds of years to be labeled Americans. They eventually gave up. I don't know what the "they eventually gave up" comment means, but if you do think about it, there's a massive, massive hole in that thought that for years, the argument was we are equals. We want to be considered Americans. And isn't there an irony to the fact that there's a bunch of white politicians now that say, oh, no, you're not American. You're African American. After 200 years of you fighting to be called an American, doesn't that just come across as to people as so much more wildly racist saying African American than just saying American? That's just another glaring trap of cognitive dissonance that I just can't get over. And then the other question is, comments going so fast, can't keep up with them. Just make requirements of to be a cop harder, just like being a Navy SEAL. Dustin, I disagree with you, my man. We have already made it so much harder. We've disincentivized becoming a police officer. A good man who thinks, I'd like to defend the Constitution of the United States of America, and I'd like to go pay cops and robbers because I know there's robbers in this world, and I want to go after the bad guys and defend the good guys. Like I would like to use my time and my talents, and my physicality in that effort. No way. Same with being a teacher. I grew up in a family of public educators, and I was thinking I was going to go out and be a teacher and everything. I was, I'd signed up as physics teaching for my original degree. When I was going to college, I was actually studying to be a physics teacher because I thought, oh, they need more STEM teachers, and I'm going to do that. And looks like it could be fun being a teacher, molding the young minds, helping the next generation, all of those good, solid liberal ideas. And then every single male teacher I talked to, except for one, said, dude, don't get into this. It's not what it used to be. Everything's your fault. Everything is bureaucracy. Everything is red tape now. You used to be trusted. Now we're not trusted. And every single teacher I talked to during my student teaching said, dude, this sucks. Don't do it. So do you really want to do that with the people that you call when your house is burning down? Do you really want to do that to the people you call when your home is getting invaded, when your children have been kidnapped? You need somebody to find them. When your store is getting looted, do you really want to make it so that you have an insane police force that literally has to give out bonuses and beg in order to recruit? There was a time in the 70s, weren't you saying, Cody, that you had family members that were hired during that time in the 70s or the 80s where the city was so desperate for firefighters and policemen that they were like giving out awesome extra pension programs or something like that, weren't you saying?
Well, no, there's actually Mayor Garcetti, I believe, back in the day, our most recent mayor got elected by being mayor in part because he said he was going to get rid of what's called the drop abuses. Drop stands for, I believe, deferred retire. Basically, it lets you do this. There were so many people that were just saying, I'm transferring from LA to anywhere else in the country and not working in LAPD anymore because it's awful because of how bad things were, that they created a system that basically said you can retire when you're still on the force and make money basically before you're retired for the most part. Now, here's the thing. You could also get that money, and then what was happening was this. People would enter that stage where they are getting their retirement funds early while they're still banking like their second mini retirement. I didn't write the laws on this. Some of this is incorrect. But what was happening was people would then do is they would put off having any surgeries. Because if you're a police or firefighter until you're in your 60s, you're probably going to have an injury, hip or whatever. They'd have surgery, go on injury, but then they would lie. So they would just scam it. There's people, there's really bad stories of people that are basically getting early retirement while they're still technically on the force, getting disability because they were temporary disability for whatever, like sick pay basically.
Yeah.
And then we're basically roofers or painters or carpenters, just raking the city over the coals for all the money they can get them with. And it was massive abuses, but the unions are so powerful, even though Garcetti got elected on basically getting rid of this practice, it still exists. They've gotten better at sussing out the overt fraud, but yeah, I mean, people still game this, and our police and fire in Los Angeles make a ton of money off this, but because they need to be competitive in the market, there is a national hiring marketplace. It's like you have to be competitive if you're LA, because there's people that literally, like commissioners, like high level people that go from different departments, big cities, LAPD, or they'll just move out to the smaller departments. So anyway, they have to be competitive. They have to make sure they keep people. So they created this thing and they let them abuse it because they know they have to keep them.
Interesting. So we just got a super chat from Christian Piete. Am I saying that right, Christian? Christian Piete. I'm hoping I'm doing that right. Cardin, what if I called you a European American? It'd sound funny. And I'd say I'm not a European American because I'm not from Europe. I'm an American because I was born here and I'm a citizen and my family are all citizens. So that would sound stupid. I think that's what you're going for, Christian. I'm not sure if that was a rhetorical question or not, and I'm hoping I answered it correctly. But yeah, I don't know. I just think you're American. Like, I'm super proud that Michael Jordan's American. And I think it's awesome that we have the greatest basketball player of all time. And I'm super stoked that LeBron James is American, that Tiger Woods is American, that all these awesome guys are American, that D for Darius is American. He's this cool black YouTuber filmmaker that I watch a lot of. Who's pretty awesome. I'm stoked that all these guys are American, and I want to celebrate my fellow Americans. Because let me tell you, if we were both overseas filming a movie and the crap hit the fan, and we had to run to the embassy, and in order to get into the embassy, just like it's like, you know, in The Saint, and we're running the embassy like Elizabeth Shue in the late 90s, you know, running away from Val Kilmer's bad Russian mafioso buddies, and we make it to the gates and we have to declare our citizenship and say, do we say, I'm a European American, I'm a European American, I'm a European American? No, we say, I'm an American. That's it. So why don't we do that here? if that's what we do abroad, why don't we do that here? It just sows division, makes the people that want us to have these left-right arguments in order to maintain their top-down power. It keeps them in power. So I'm with Cody on this one.
Well, no, but just like, especially just to the larger point of that, there's like nothing wrong with the term African American. It's just weird if you'll notice, like, for like, they'll sometimes put it, I think someone mentioned it before, to the terms of it being like on legal documents or whatever, right? It just feels weird, right? Because like, I understand why you might identify that. People identify as Jewish Americans, Irish Americans, Italian Americans, French Americans, Russian Americans. They identify as that. It's just, but it's just weird when they go the extra step and try to convince you that that's greater than. I'm not going to get into it because, quite frankly, I honestly am never going to argue with someone over what they prefer people call them. It's like, it is what it is, man. If people say, I prefer to use the term African American, I'm not going to be like, you're being lied to, man. Just like, that's fine. That's fine with me. But I just think the thing where it starts to kind of weird me out more, you see it on the legal documents, where it will list other ethnicities and then just have like African American as a separate thing. It looks weird. It's like, why is it hyphen there?
So Daniel Joseph says, I'm a libertarian because they fit into both parties. I don't know if I'd say that, but I think I get where he's going with there. It shows he's a good person that's trying to get along. I'm a fiscal conservative while also being a social rights Democrat. I reject that. I think this is a very 1990s definition of what libertarians are, because I really doubt that you think just a boy should be able to wake up one day in Connecticut and say, yeah, I'm sucking at boys track, so I'm going to wear a wig and start competing with the girls and take first place. Like, I don't think you actually really think that. And
was Arnold Schwarzenegger really the first civilian to own a Hummer? That's the other thing, man.
Wait, a legit Hummer?
I would be fine with, like, that's the thing too. I think what makes America great is not great in that sense, but I wish Arnold Schwarzenegger could have potentially been president one day. I get why you don't want people born outside of the country to become president, because
you question the loyalties.
It's not even that you question the loyalty. It's just that, yeah, potentially maybe one day some country will somehow. I mean, it's kind of hilarious to me, this notion that, like, what a spy op that would be. Getting the fucking spy elected president of a country. You know what I mean? Like, wow. And then I love, too, the notion that they'd have to turn someone born in the country, right? Like, clearly the Chinese or Russians couldn't flip an American. They have to be born in China or Russia to do something like this. I don't know. It is kind of funny to me. But I think that's the cool thing is, Arnold Schwarzenegger was governor of California. No one was like, well, he's not technically an American. He's an Austrian American. No one cared. He's the governor of California. So I think that's why the labeling over a name doesn't really matter too much. It's just, it is weird when they start bringing it too much into legal documents.
Hey, like, dude, Nate Dogg brings up a good point in his super chat here. Have you read it yet? I'm going to read it.
Yeah.
Nate Dogg says, so we abolish the police. Rock on. We defund the police. Abolish the police. The wealthy hire security to protect their neighborhoods. Dems call it security for all and not just for the rich. Boom. Yeah, dude. We got Medicare for all. Why don't we call it security for all?
Remember, we don't have Medicare for all. And Politico's very happy to tell you will not be getting Medicare for all either. Well, I think to that point, I've seen that. It is funny. It is kind of, I've seen a couple of different things along these lines, right? But yeah, it does feel like if you were to abolish the police, you'd probably discover that we should create something called, like, the police, right? Like, maybe we call it something different, but yeah, if the government just in general, they do things. The police serves a purpose. We have police departments for reasons. They didn't just fall out of. They weren't imposed on us one day. Like, the state came up with them for a reason. People support or have allowed them to operate the way they operate in the country for a reason. That's the reason why no one really is there people really pushing back against reform. Someone mentioned earlier the idea of, like, reform, right? The idea of, like, like changing procedures, like making it so just the very act of having your neck on a suspect's neck like that could be charged against an officer, held against an officer. Like, no one's really, is there people really pushing back on that, right? I think that's the reason why they have to convince you everyone wants to abolish the police. And I'll mention this, someone brought this up, that Ilhan Omar, who is technically, she is a congressperson. That's why I said it's not nobody in office. What I meant was Democrat leaders have been saying stuff like this. She's actually from the state of Minneapolis, right? So it does, or state of Minnesota, sorry. So it adds a little more to it. I think she represents parts of Minneapolis as well. But the larger point is, they're going to need someone to do this stuff. They'll say they want to get rid of it, and Ilhan Omar, she's definitely been on the odd side of the establishment and what they got done. Man, the leadership doesn't want this. The leadership needs police to do their bidding. They're just that simple. I don't know who else does their bidding except for that. So here's something funny. Talk about the protests, right? I'm almost of the opinion, if the government lets you do it, it's not a protest. Do you remember what happened when people were protesting against the government and the government didn't want them to?
Yeah.
They arrested them and they said you can't do it.
Okay.
There was that great tweet from the police department. It said protesting is not an essential activity. They deemed it non-essential and said it couldn't be done. Dude, if the government doesn't want you to protest, they make it illegal and say you can't.
So
If you're really protesting against them, if you're really going against their wills, if the government doesn't want you out in the streets protesting, they'll make it illegal. And they have, and they literally just did.
yeah.
They only let you out there when they want you to be out there. Think about that. It's not like the government doesn't have the ability to declare gatherings illegal. They'll do it. Protests illegal, not give permits. I think de Blasio said he will not be issuing any permits for protests back during the coronavirus times, way back in the coronavirus times. I mean, think about that. If they don't want you to do it, they won't let you. So is it really a protest if it's basically just sanctioned by the state? Just welcomed? Come on down. How about this? Matter of fact, don't you dare gather in the park for no reason. You better be protesting in that park or else you can't gather. I mean, think about it. What protest is this then? It's almost like it's their command. It's like the will of the state. I don't know how else to describe it other than their will. Didn't they rename in Washington, D.C.? It's like Black Lives Matter Plaza with the mural on the ground?
Yeah, dude.
My point being, like, clearly the government's not pushing back in that regard. Of course, they have their thugs out there. You know, they'll have the riot police baiting people. People will go out there and fight the police as well. They'll tear gas people. They'll go back and forth. You know, they're fighting in the streets, playing games. But think about it. The government, the governors, the mayors, the DA in New York's not charging people. I mean, like, it's not a protest, man. They're letting you do it. Letting people get away with it. They're, arresting people, letting them go, not charging them. Like, if they think you're protesting against them, they won't let you do it.
Yeah.
They'll have police saying you cannot be here. They will not give anyone a permit. They will go out of their way.
Well, I've seen some really interesting suggestions in chat, Cody. One guy said, Cardin, how do you feel about cops wearing very large numbers like jerseys in the NBA on their uniforms so we could identify who they are? I think the police unions would go against that because
they have badges.
Yeah, they've got badges and the uniformed nature of the cops and that anonymity, I think, is a protection for them individually. But that'd be an interesting thing. And then somebody else says, what if you had Yelp for cops? If you could get their number, if it was like LAPD cop number 251, you know what I'm saying? And then you could just Yelp them. Yeah, this guy's a D-bag. You know what I'm saying? And have post a video of how he was talking to you when he pulled you over or something like that. That could be really interesting. The only problem is we have no enforcement mechanism against them because we're not choosing to take our business elsewhere. You know, I mean, the reason why you rely upon Yelp ads for cops or ratemyprofessor.com for professors at universities is so you can avoid the bad professors. And if it says, oh, you know, this guy sucks, his homework's too hard, he doesn't teach the test very well, or, oh, this restaurant sucks, their chicken tikka masala is horrible.
Go back to the university example. What are you supposed to do with these professors that get bad ratings?
Oh, they ultimately get fired.
No, they don't. What are you supposed to do? Do your best to avoid them.
Oh, no,
they
do.
Nowhere,
no,
pal.
Universities have the way to, they have a way, because universities have become businesses, and yes, they do have tenure that protects them, but they just won't give them hours or classes.
Okay, but
and then
still,
since you get paid based upon hours and classes, you get rubber room.
They don't fire these people. They're just going to be there. That exists so you can do your best to not end up in their class, not to fizzle them out.
Emperor Xander says, bring back town guards. I got to tell you, I think America lost something when the man who shot Liberty Valance and became senator. We lost the power of the posse. And I got to tell you, communities should have posse enforcement on some things. Dude, if a guy comes into your town and they steal a bunch of money.
Talking about extrajudicial killings.
No, I'm talking about
I don't care
if they are obvious enough in nature.
I don't care what you say
if they are obvious enough in nature.
What you describe is extrajudicial
They could be deputized. No, they could be deputized.
Doesn't matter. They're not Judge Dredd, and they'll be out there killing people. That is what always will happen.
Cody, dude, come on, bro. Judge Dredd was a great movie. You want to live in that dystopia?
Okay, but he also...
You're the guy that has dudes show up and get rid of people. Yeah, you want me to take care of that for you? Cody Heisenberg, you would thrive in this society. You would thrive.
Like I said, I don't think you understand like the power of the... Yeah, killing random people for allegedly maybe of committing crimes. That was awesome. That was the best part of America's history. Best part of America's history is when someone would accuse you of something, so 50 people would show up, round you up, put a rope around your neck, and hang you. That was when America was truly great. We should get back to that. I mean, I disagree. I think having random mobs of people dishing out justice is basically the dumbest thing. And every time it's tried, it's been tried everywhere, man. People get together and go, wow, this feels untenable. It feels like if I'm not screaming and directing the mob, eventually I'm going to be next, right? Damn. We're just killing people for no reason.
Well, at this point, that's all we're doing.
No, it isn't. Hold on. I want to get something else.
So we got a super chat here. Christian Piete says, LOL, Yelp for cops, help.
Was that the right way of pronouncing it?
I think it's Piete. Like Peter, but Piete.
He said Piet.
Piet. Oh, Piet.
Yelp for cops. Yeah. Also, the way Yelp works, too. Talk about mafias. You know, Yelp works. They list your business. Somehow all the bad reviews stay up and none of the good ones. And they say, if you want to delete them, you got to pay us.
Yeah. So derail to the tease. Oh, yeah?
I just want to show you. This is the video clip of Nancy Pelosi having to get help to her feet because she's wearing, I'm imagining very expensive shoes that she had difficulty rising to her feet after taking the knee on.
Or maybe she's just ancient.
I thought that was theirs. No, you can see right there.
Maybe she's just ancient.
See very, very little support in those stilettos. But hey, they look nice. They go with the suit. They really pull the whole look together. I'll give her that.
Dude,
it definitely.
I've never liked Nancy Pelosi more than when she was providing a good example in nice stilettos.
Yeah, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work correctly. She needed to make sure she had those shoes on.
Azrael says Yelp is so shady. Yes, they are. I used to pay them $1,500 a month for their advertising, and they're a brutal overlord, in my opinion. And Trumper Yang brings up some good points. Apparently, he's gleaning data with an MIT data analyst as to which of the protesters are most vulnerable to COVID-19, according to racial demographics. And he's getting some interesting data there. A video is pending, so Trumper Yang, send us a link once you get that. We'll love to hear about that. And he also continues and says, did you guys see my armed neighbors up here in North Idaho come out in force with the armed shop owners? Yeah, dude, there's been all these cities where folks have been coming out en masse, just straight up open carrying, like I said, like the posse, all right, defending the town, which I'm down with. Hundreds of people with weapons because Antifa said they were coming. They did not show. I think a lot of those patriots, and we will call them patriots, were a little bit disappointed, if we're honest with ourselves, just a little bit disappointed. And I think a lot of them were probably very relieved. But at the end of the day, boom, I think that's what America's all about, baby. When the Black Panthers were afraid of police brutality, what did? They started exercising their Second Amendment rights and began patrolling their neighborhoods with armed militias. And guess what came to a very rapid end in Oakland? Police brutality. Now, that's not to endorse some of the other unconstitutional actions of the Black Panthers, but that constitutional action I found awesome and awe-inspiring. So, let's keep going here. Actually, we're 3 minutes over, man. Right when it starts getting good, we're 3 minutes over. We'll do a couple more questions here. Let me see. What do you think of the new community-based law enforcers? The 9 councilmen of Minneapolis proposed after to disband the police. What do you think of that? That's from Joey Barnett. What's up, Joey?
I feel like, unfortunately, you're going to run into this issue like police officers will show up on scenes and have to call for backup. I'm assuming sometimes the social worker or the community and, the person, because I believe Minnesota is the one they're talking about, right? Where if it's a call, let's say specifically for domestic violence, they would have someone, for like domestic violence workers, they would come. If it was about drugs, they would have like drug, people come in the system. And I just think the problem is eventually they're probably going to have to create something that would be, and let me know if I'm getting this wrong, but I believe that was the one I was reading about. It was one in Minnesota where they were talking more about increasing funding for things that serve the community and then just having rapid actors out of it. I think you would eventually have to create some kind of rapid response armed You'd have to create something where someone has a gun and they come from the state to enforce its laws and to back up other state law enforcers that are having issues enforcing the laws of the state. I don't see how you could, unless you pull back unless you pull back and bring, something like either the free market or nothing in to replace that kind of policing and enforcing on the street levels and stopping of stuff like who does break up a fight when a guy's beating his wife in the house and people can hear? Who does come and stop there, right? Like at some point
the posse.
If posses,
we could go back.
If posses existed, I would demand for a police force to go and kill the posse. Okay.
Well, no, not extrajudicial killings, but what about extrajudicial thumpings? You know, like we all know who's beating his wife on the street block.
I would go and vote for the government to come kill these people. That's what I would do. Yeah.
Oh, come on. If you've never had a guy in the neighborhood that you know was beating his wife, or the guy in the neighborhood that you know that was the thug that was causing problems, or else the guy in the neighborhood that you know was stealing people's stereos and breaking into the houses at night, and thought, we love this brother, and his life would get turned around, and he would see the light if he just had a solid thumping.
My friend's next door neighbor dealt drugs all the time out of his house.
Uh-huh.
Tell you what happens if it's just so much fun giving that guy a beating? We look around and say, you know what? Maybe that guy deserves a beating too. And maybe him. And maybe him. And maybe him. And maybe giving beatings is what we're good at. We should keep it up.
Uh-huh.
Maybe I just realized something. When I say we should go beat people, people listen. And that's the only time they do listen. So I got to keep ordering the beatings or else they'll stop listening.
Cody, you would be a great
It's
charismatic
almost like that's
leader.
What always happens. That same thing.
Cody,
Someone's only good at killing people, so they realize as soon as I stop killing people, they'll realize it's all I'm good at.
See, Cody, you would thrive in this society, dude. You are Cody Heisenberg. You see this matrix. You see the dog eat dog, gorilla smash gorilla matrix, like better than us civilized pansies. You've got this savage thing down to a science. You should do it, bro.
It's not even. It's just like
you'd be an awesome charismatic warlord.
The same thing keeps happening always, all the time throughout history in a bunch of places. Yeah, a bunch of people get together, and what do you know? This mob of people with a very loose hierarchy that's dishing out violence gets stuff wrong.
Dude, so Andrew Holman here.
What do you know?
Andrew Holman is a true patriot, a man of my heart and mind. Says veterans are training and teaming up with civilians and creating small militias in rural areas. I take part every Sunday, drive about an hour away, neighbors planning to take big step back in time. Look at this, man. See, here's a brother who's meeting with people in his community saying what needs to be done. We need to protect ourselves. So his tribe is creating a warrior class in order to protect the rest of the tribe, exercising their Second Amendment rights to protect life, limb, and property. This, my man, that's a true patriot right there.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm fine with militias still. Militias make sense. Probably not gonna get invaded, but militias make sense.
Yeah, I'm saying.
Militias have always made sense. I mean, they.
Do you know that's why the Japanese never planned a land invasion? They literally said, we fear the huntsmen, and they called them the huntsmen, which was the word for the militias, because there were so many guns and so many people that knew how to use them in America.
Also, it would kind of take a long time to get enough boats over here probably to do a land invasion of America, I'd imagine. So,
yeah. So Nathan Butcher says something interesting where he says, Pledge of Allegiance, yes or no? I think it's great to have a rite of passage that children in schools engage in that is a reminder of our unity under the United States of America. The legal questions about people that have a legitimate interpretation of scripture or a reason to abstain from it. For some reason, this is a huge thing with Jehovah's Witnesses, and I don't get it. Just saying I am allegiant to my people and my country that give me religious freedom protections. I don't view as an affront to God. Okay. In fact, he's probably down there like, yeah, it's probably a good idea, buddy. You know what I'm saying? So I don't see how these people misinterpret that. But at the end of the day, I don't think it should be a legal requirement. You can, I believe you should have.
Do Christians are okay with pledging your allegiance to a symbol?
Well, you say, I pledge allegiance to the flag. Well, you can have allegiance to all kinds of things. Your family. You can have allegiance to your sports team. When you get up there, you cheer for your sports team, as long as it doesn't become a god.
I've never pledged. You know what? I wouldn't mind pledging allegiance to the Lakers, but I've never done it.
I pledge allegiance to the Lakers and the great men who have played for them. To Kobe Bryant, to Magic, to Wilt, and to Stan. One team, purple and yellow. United. How do I finish that off, Cody?
I don't know. How about this, though? What would your actual thoughts be if they did tomorrow? No more Pledge of Allegiance in schools.
I would think something has been lost here, but we didn't start America with a Pledge of Allegiance. That really wasn't until post-Civil War. And if you actually look at Porky Pig in the original Looney Tunes, they said it even differently. And so I would think something that was it's more of a cultural relic from the post-Civil War than it is an actual constitutional right. I would think something was lost.
Oh, that's
but
Sorry, Kristen the artist brought up a great point here along the defund. I love this. Defund equals privatize. It works so well for the prisons and the utilities. I imagine it. The same people who own the private prisons are going to own the private police forces. That's why I said there's a lot of people talking about a lot of things as far as how we're going to set up budgets for the police, how much the police should be X or Y or Z. And the larger point I tried to make earlier in this video would just show you guys that a lot of that media stuff, it was an astroturfing of that there was a big movement. No, you'll notice that the leaders of Democrats and most people are like they're proposing something. They're proposing to spend maybe less money, move money, but they're trying to convince you that there's actually going to be this movement where the police are somehow removed and replaced with nothing, and chaos will be the order of the day. And it's like that's not happening. That's not what's coming. You don't care what these articles tell you. Read the actual things that are happening. That's not what's coming. So.
Dude, Trumper for Yang just brought up an epic end to the Lakers Pledge of Allegiance. He says, "With liberty and justice for Ball." Come on. That was easy. It's so true, man. So we got 60 more seconds. If you got any more super chats, get them out of your system. You got any more burning questions?
Back to your point. So, you, like, seriously, if your kids came home and you found they're never giving the Pledge of Allegiance to school again today, would you be like, would you even think to be like, I should say something? Or would it just be like, whatever?
I would be, on that, I would be more along the lines of whatever than some of the stuff that they're injecting into the curriculum. I have far bigger problems with what they're injecting into the curriculum than
kvetching about that. Just the idea.
I shall kvetch.
Yeah, just the
I shall slip my kvetch with my tchotchkes.
Shouldn't have brought it up. But the idea is, my larger point is, I do think that it kind of has been. Right? I agree. I think it's been so long since there was any real iron need for a Pledge of Allegiance given by kids in schools. Yeah, I don't even know if anyone would really raise a stink or care to notice. Someone literally, right? But I really don't think.
No, I think it's important to do, and unless there's one damn good reason, I don't think we should.
How about it saves a couple hours a semester?
Nah, but no.
It's literally a minute a day.
The reason why you send your kids to public school instead of homeschooling them is the socialization, and part of the value of socialization is realizing we are all in this together.
Spare me.
What?
Spare me
what?
That.
Spare you what?
Part of the
Who's with me? Who's with me?
Children is saying Pledge of Allegiance with their fellow classmates. Come on. And I mean, I'm just arguing seriously from that angle. Think about it, man. Like, seriously, that's probably a couple hours a month, easy, taken out of a kid's school. They got to pass those tests. They got to learn to read. They don't have time for the pledge. I literally wouldn't care, and I think that's a good enough reason.
Yeah, well, if they got time to be teaching all this other transgender nonsense that they're saying that they want to teach, then they got time for the Pledge of Allegiance. That's all I got to say.
Like I said, while you're kvetching and
I shall kvetch.
I don't know why I even said it. While you're fighting against the progressive liberal menace that you, for some reason, like I said, are they in the room with us right now? Apparently, you're always addressing everything to them. I don't think of everything in the paradigm of how this hurts the libs. And just in general, I do think that'd be a good way.
I don't think about how it hurts the libs. I think how it affects my family.
I think from that argument,
okay.
From the argument of save time, I think that's a good argument.
So Tamarilla says, when it becomes a ritual requirement, the meaning is lost. People should pledge if they believe it. I understand that. Maybe it doesn't have to be every day. Maybe it can be assemblies. I understand all of these arguments, and I get them. Cake batter. Thank you for the thank you. This is a meta sticker that you have sent us. I'm loving these new stickers with the cool little pair that says thank you. We are grateful for your contribution, Cake Batter. Thank you for the thank you.
Yeah, it is. It's literally like, that's the thing. I remember as a kid, because like they'll be making you recite the Pledge of Allegiance while they're teaching you about like the American Revolution and the Founding Fathers and stuff, and I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, something about pledging my allegiance to the country kind of feels like what they didn't like, and like what they were trying to create a country that didn't happen.
Well, if we made the Pledge of Allegiance a little bit more robust and had it to the same choir that the Russian national anthem is sung to, it might be a more enjoyable experience as we're pledging allegiance. You know what I'm saying? Like, that could be cool.
I mean, if you're talking about like national songs and stuff, I agree, but I don't think we should. Maybe teach the kids. I don't know. I don't know. I guess we could do what authoritarian states do, and we have our kids do parades and stuff.
Nathan Butcher and Trumper for Yang have two really good comments too.
But how else do we give kids a sense of patriotism?
That's my man, Nathan Butcher.
Well, I guess that's an interesting question, right? I guess teach them about the country doesn't do it, right? So how else do we do it?
Oh, come on.
I don't know. That would be my answer. Just teach them about the country.
Only people that have never lived abroad doubt American exceptionalism.
All I'm saying is if the American government feels like just teaching kids about America isn't enough and they have to force them to pledge allegiance, that says something about the government. That's all I'm saying.
So Trumper for Yang says, there is a liberal menace and they are likely in the room. Thumbs up. Trumper for Yang. He's my patriot brother right there. My patriot brother. Hashtag America. So anyway, okay, one more minute. I know I've said this before, but literally one last minute right here. Knox 404 says, problem solver politics. Do you think the UBI will be a thing in the next 5 years? What are your thoughts on the stock market right now? How can it be so high with so many bad indicators? Well, it could be so high because the stock market doesn't actually really value anything. It is a measurement of investor confidence, which in roundabout terms is basically just a graph that visualizes how confident rich people are feeling right now. And if all of a sudden there's something goes on that makes them feel not confident, the values may be low because rich people and the investment class are the most cowardly and spookable. They're like cats. They're everything you don't like about cats. Okay. Never there when you need them. Scare easily. Look at you from behind things. Always hedging their butts. Annoying you when you don't want them there. You know what I'm saying? And the stock market is literally just a graph of like how rich people are feeling that day, of rich people's feelings. And so how could it be high? Because guess who's profiting? Guess who's profiting off of division? Guess who's profiting off of violence? Guess who's profiting off of discord?
Okay, the market's coming back also in a lot of ways because the government, the Fed, helped stabilize it by conjuring up trillions of dollars. And then on the other end of that, things are reopening. I mean, what do you know? People will use commercial air travel again. What do you know? People will still stay in hotels. I think a lot of that stuff stabilized too. Also, more recently, right, a job report came out and they lied in it. That was pretty fun.
Yeah.
They just fudged the job report numbers by 3%.
Yeah.
They had 3% of people that were furloughed listed as just like miscellaneous, not counted in the unemployment numbers. Anyway, there's a lot of reasons like that. But it's because I guess to your point, it legitimately doesn't matter how Andrew Yang brings it up. Stock market has nothing to do with how living in the country of people actually is.
Yeah.
It could be hell to live here, but
make your last comment, bro.
Factors that have things go up.
What's your last comment?
My last comment? I don't know.
I can do mine.
Yeah, that's probably it.
Okay, that's it for you. This last comment comes from John LeMay, and he says, I don't think, quote, patriotism, end quote, is necessarily the answer. I think that the goal should be to create brotherhood through hardship. Look at the military. They are quite diverse, but they are one. If you put a bunch of people and a diverse group through hardship and they become brotherly because of it, to me, that is the very definition of patriotism. All right. And then also in an indirect way, it seems like you're suggesting that we put our children through hardships. Like, yeah, who's the hardship coordinator at the elementary school? You know what I'm saying? I'm going to make you kids crawl underneath the razor wire. You know what I'm saying? Well, so you believe in each other.
It's true, though. I mean, you think about it. I do think one of the things someone was asking, too, about why there's so many different labels from so many different people. I think that nationalism and a strong national identity and strong patriotism did lead to the great wars of the 20th century. And I think there's been a concerted move away from those things. So the division can no longer be between states, but it must be within states. And I think that was the idea. So they try to divide us inside of our countries so we don't invade each other anymore. That's kind of, I guess, my
who is the they, though? They that profit off us.
The intellectual class, the policy prescribers, government officials. I mean, there's been there could be a larger push from the media and the major media establishments, the thinkers.
No, we need nationalism, baby. Patriotism's good, baby.
But like I said, they took note of the two great wars in Europe and said, "Wow, nationalism did play into these. So let's try to go the other way."
Yeah, but you also could say oxygen played into it.
I'm not arguing on behalf of these people. I'm just telling you what I've read. That's what I've read, is that people deliberately pushed towards trying to not like divide, but trying to turn the focus inward on countries and on people and away from national identities because it led to wars. They didn't like that.
And a lot of communists make that argument too. They say,
it makes war happen.
Doesn't an American poor person have more in common with the Mexican poor person than patriotism allows them to? And the working class should rise up and so on and so forth. Yeah. So anyway, we gotta end this cheese because we've gone way over today. But as always, it has been awesome hanging out with you guys. Let us know in the comments of this video. We're actually going to start putting up community posts saying, hey, what do you guys want to talk about? Hopefully about an hour before each one of the podcasts. I'm going to be in charge of that. And Cody is the one rocking the Twitter account. Make sure you follow us on PSP Radio 1 on Twitter. That's how we reach out with a lot of people. Join us here. We're going to be live streaming hopefully every night this week. And if you can, join the channel. Smash the like button before you go, okay? And look out for some other channels. We're going to be releasing some information on other channels that we're starting, talking about movies and other things, so on and so forth. As always, this has been awesome. This is Problem Solver Politics. We will see you in the next live stream.
Oh, and really quickly at the very end, I will add the Discord. We are
Oh yeah, there will be a Discord channel so we can talk in.
It's here, but over the next like 2 or 3 days, guys, I am legitimately planning right now to do this stuff and add more. I'm not gonna you'll see it when it happens. I'm not gonna make any massive sweeping promises. However, do keep an eye out. I am looking to update, clean up, and make this more active.
Cool, awesome. So anyway, once again, this is Problem Solver Politics. We'll see you guys in the next video.